Hello everyone, welcome to this session of our NPTEL course, Appreciating Linguistics, a Typological Approach. We have been talking about various domains of linguistics and how we are going to approach for it from a typological approach, from a typological perspective, right. So, one thing that we have learnt by far, there are certain cross-linguistic generalizations in the sub-disciplines of linguistics. Let us say starting from lexical typology, morphological typology, phonological typology and syntactic typology. We have seen so far there are a couple of generalizations that we can draw from various languages spoken in the world. And people who are trying, like typology could be approached from two different perspectives, from the formal as well as from the functional perspective. So, the functionalists, if I can say, they try to figure out as many universals as possible, taking into account a huge sample size. And when I say sample size, I am talking about considering linguistic data or empirical data from multiple languages of the world. And as far as formal typology is concerned, the set of languages or the number of language sample, that becomes restricted. Rather, a lot of focus is given, or is a lot of focus is on the what to say, on the theory underlying structure, or you can say the abstract similarity that the languages might have. And in this case, the formalists focus a lot on the child language acquisition, and they try to, and it can be studied from both diachronic perspective as well as from the development perspective. So, with this information about typological approach of understanding of linguistics, today's discussion is going to be center around semantic typology. So, we have discussed how the cross linguistic generalizations can be drawn at the word level, morpheme level when you say morphological typology, word level when you say lexical typology, sound level, that is going to be phonetic typology or phonological typology. Then we have sentence level that deals with, or that talks about syntactic typology. Besides that, we also have semantic and pragmatic typology. This area of this area of typological discussion is not going to be as varied as other fields, but then I want you to understand that how linguists, they try to approach semantics from a typological point of view, right. And here we are not going to focus on generalizations. We are not going to talk about Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 as we were doing in the previous slides. Considering this is a little more abstract in nature, we will talk about, or we will find out what is the pattern that one might have, or what are the different ways by which semantic changes are happening, and what are the basic questions that deal with the semantic typology, and maybe what are the challenges the area is facing, and how it can contribute to the understanding of linguistics as a discipline, or linguistics as a whole discipline. Okay. So, let us start the discussion with the introduction. The first thing that I want you to remember is that semantic typology is a part of the broader term. And what is the broader term? That is linguistic typology, right. So, it is a part of the linguistic typology that is concerned with the expression of meaning in language and languages. So, when I say language and languages, if you remember my introduction video or the introduction lecture that we had, it was about big L and small l. So, big L refers to natural language as a whole, and small l refers to individual languages. Just to kind of reiterate what we have been talking about language and linguistics. Individual language. So, you can have L1, L2, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5, etc. Okay. So, if you are a multilingual speaker, then you would have, right. So, when you are talking about big L, which is natural language, and small l, which is the individual language. So, the concern or the idea that we have here is that a branch of linguistic typology or a part of linguistic typology that talks about or that deals with semantics, it is concerned with the expression of meaning in language and languages. So, that means we are not just targeting individual languages, but we are also targeting the bigger language as a whole. That is why it should be considered, or it is not it should be, it is considered as a systematic cross linguistic study of how languages express meaning by way of signs. So, this term is very important. So, signs, when I say signifier and signified relation, those who know about it, maybe in the meanwhile I will just give you a brief idea, but then I would expect you to understand that when I say semantic typology, I am primarily concerned with the meaning aspect, how languages express meaning using the way of signs, using the way of symbols and signs, right. So, just like all branches of linguistics, this particular discipline or this particular domain is also concerned with the deep regularities which underlie the incredible diversity in how particular languages work. It sounds so heavy, this statement, but then if you try to analyze, if you try to understand, it is actually very simple. So, look at the 3 points written on the slides. The first thing is that this is a part of linguistic typology that is concerned with the expression of meaning in language and languages. Second thing, much like other disciplines of linguistics, this is also a cross linguistic study, and this cross linguistic study deals with how languages express meaning by the way of signs. The third thing is that the systematicity that this particular domain includes, it explores. So, through semantic typology, what we try to do, we try to explore the deep regularities which underlie the existing deep regularities in the incredible diversity in how particular languages work. So, the languages of the world, they are extremely or hugely diverse, right. So, the diversity is incredible. Each language functions in a certain way, each language functions in a distinct way. So, in spite of all the diversities of the languages in the world, there is a regular pattern, there is an underlying deep regular pattern as far as meanings are concerned, and this meaning gets expressed through or by way of signs. So, that is what is the chief aim, or that is what is the objective of semantic typology. So, semantic typology should target what? It should target the regular pattern or the cross linguistic pattern that involves the regularities in in spite of all the diversified linguistic systems that we have. So, these are the 3 very important things that you need to remember when you are talking about semantic typology. So, now let us see how huge or how diverse it is. So, when I say science, I am talking about linguistic science, and tentatively the world has, let us say, an average 6,000 languages. So, if the world has 6,000 languages, that represent the outcome of a huge number of natural experiments that involves different kind of linguistic categories. So, each language will have certain linguistic category, and there are some other linguistic categories which are common across the languages. So, putting everything together, if you try to find out the number or a numerical indication of this study, semantic typology, then it is going to be innumerable, it is going to be huge, it is going to be vast, right. So, this sets of signs available in the world's 6,000 languages are humongous as far as the number is concerned. So, in that we have to find out what sort of cross linguistic generalization one might have as far as semantic typology is concerned, right. Okay. So, then that is okay. So, we realize that there are different languages in the world, and each language, or this 6,000 languages that we have at our disposal, is going to have many linguistic items, or many linguistic sets. So, now there is a debate, and what sort of debate semantic typology consider, or semantic typology take up? The debate is that what is universal and what is culturally malleable that semantic typology has to look for. That means, there are certain things even in the semantics domain which is going to be considered as universal. So, these universals, how should we account for it? And then the second thing is, as far as these universals are concerned, how culturally that is going to be distinct. So, the different cultures might have different contexts, and the meaning might change depending on the cultural context where this particular linguistic unit is being used. So, in spite of all this varied cultural and linguistic context, there must be some kind of universal feature, or there must be some kind of commonality that the typologist should try to find out. So, with this discussion, let us see what should we expect when I say let us try to understand linguistic or semantic typology. So, what is the central question? So, that is what. So, this particular slide would give you an idea what should be the central question of semantic typology, which is related to, obviously related to meaning. So, the central question that is a part of semantic typology is that what is that subsystem which expresses what kind of meaning. So, that means there are many subsystems, and what are these subsystems? There are three primary subsystems. One is your lexical subsystem, grammatical subsystem, and prosodic subsystem, and all the three subsystems would talk about certain kind of signs. So, at the lexicon level you have lexical signs, grammatical signs, and prosodic signs. So, and these three domains, or these three signs which are considered to be the most fundamental unit of semantic typology. Remember that this is very important. If I ask you the question, what is the most fundamental unit of semantic typology, the answer should be these are the three fundamental units. Of any given phrase or word or sentence or paragraph, you must find out how many lexical units are there, and each lexical unit might have been comprising of some grammatical units, and then obviously you should be able to find out what is the prosodic unit. So, this, as far as the most fundamental unit is concerned, which is sign, it will have three different domains: lexical domain, grammatical domain, and prosodic domain. So, keeping that in mind, all the three basic domains that we have, now the question is which of the subsystem, like which subsystem among these three expresses what sort of meaning, right. So, if you think about Sapeer's discussion on language, so there is an increasing emphasis on developing let us say an ontological inventory of meanings. And once you develop that ontological inventory of meaning, you have to link it to certain computationally implemented descriptive standard. So, when I say descriptive standard, that means you should be able to identify, you should be able to describe a particular grammatical unit, and you should put it in a typological fashion. So, that means there must be all these signs that we are talking about, the lexical, grammatical, and prosodic signs in semantic morphology. It might, or it must in fact go through certain kind of linguistic, cross-linguistic pattern, or the cross-linguistic referent. So, we will see how strongly we can claim that, because semantic typology is the most abstract domain of typological research, and a lot of people who are indulged in semantic typology, or those who are involved in semantic typology, do not consider themselves typologists also. So that's a tricky situation, or that's a tricky question when you are trying to figure out, or when you are trying to understand if semantic typology is really a part of empirical typological research. So maybe gradually when you read more about it, you will realize that this kind of typology is different from how we have studied syntactic, phonological, morphological and lexical typology. Okay? Right. So if you look at this slide, so primarily the three domains, the three subdomains of science, lexical, grammatical, prosodic. Then you have like, let us say, which subsystem expresses which sort of meaning, and what happens in the actual use, what happens in the actual discourse. So in the actual discourse, the speaker and the hearer, what they do, they try to find out information on their pragmatic knowledge, which enriches the science, so that what is meant is more and what is said. So it's like, this is a little, maybe I would okay. So fine. So that was the some introduction about semantic typology. So what is the primary question, what are the subdomains, and how what are the different ways by which the typologists have been working so far. Okay. So let's start from the let's take up the issue of semantic typology from this introductory concepts. Now just we realize that, okay, science or the linguistic science, these are the most rudimentary or the most fundamental units of semantic typology, and this can be studied in three different domains. We can study it as linguistic science, grammatical science and prosodic science. And with these three different domains of science in semantics, we must try to figure out the answer of the most conceptual question: which subsystem expresses which sort of meaning? Lexical subsystem, what kind of meaning does it express? Grammatical subsystem, what kind of meaning does it express? And prosodic subsystem, what kind of meaning does it express? But what I will do, I will just give you a comprehensive answer, and I will give you a summarized or the totalitarian answer. So the comprehensive answer is that, keeping all the three subdomains in mind, when in actual use, like when the language is used in the discourse, or when it is used for communication or for some other purpose, in the actual use, what happens? The speaker and the hearer, they try to draw on their pragmatic knowledge. So this pragmatic knowledge might include lexical information, grammatical information and prosodic information. So considering the hearers, they draw on their pragmatic knowledge that helps both the speaker and the listener to enrich the sign. And what sign? These three signs: lexical, grammatical and prosodic signs. So as a result, this is the statement that happens, which sounds to be a little complicated. So because of this pragmatic knowledge in all the three domains of science, lexical, grammatical and prosodic, the speaker and the hearer, they are involved in a process where what is meant is more than what is said. That means, when you say something, there could be some additional source of information can be gathered from your speech. So your speech, or or you can say the lexical information or the grammatical information that you have in your speech, that is not enough. So prosody and other kinds of pragmatic tools or other kind of pragmatic components, they also help the speaker and the hearer to make the communication process complete, which is why what happens in semantic type, while studying semantic typology, we can say that the science or the linguistic science, they can be sort of understood in a sense that what is meant is more than what is said. So what you say, that's not the only thing that the hearer is getting. The hearer might have some additional or some extra information because of the pragmatic knowledge that they have, right. So this is how we are trying to understand meaning in the context of semantic typology. So now let us see since I am going to talk about semantic typology, primarily I am going to talk about the changes. So, what sort of semantic changes happen, or what kind of semantic changes do we encounter as the speech community or as a human being who uses language, and what are the different mechanisms of such semantic changes. If you remember, when I was talking about lexical typology and morphological typology, I did talk about how the new words they get introduced in the lexicon of a language, how the old words they get deleted from the lexicon of a language, and sometimes even the existing words they change their meaning. So, this semantic change it has multiple mechanisms. So, for today's session or for this particular course, my focus is going to be on two primary or two very important mechanisms of semantic change, and this semantic change is going to be the part of the semantic typological study that we are trying to discuss, right. So, what are the two mechanisms? You have a metaphor and you have a metonym, right. So, all of you have heard about metaphor and metonym. So, metaphorization and metonymization, these are the two major mechanisms of change which are usually recognized in morphological as well as phonological change. So, remember, this is what I want you to understand. So, one is metaphorization, the second is metonymization. Okay. So, these two mechanisms, these are the two major mechanisms in fact as far as semantic change is concerned, and they are realized in morphosyntactic and phonological change, morphosyntactic and phonological change, right. So, when you are thinking about, or when you are talking about the reanalysis and analogy that is given in case of semantic change, the two primary ones are these, but besides metaphorization and metonymization, we also have a third mechanism, that is borrowing, right. So, this is also another major factor, or this is also another major mechanism which includes semantic change. I am not going to talk about borrowing here, because I have already discussed it in the morphological section, morphological typology section, when I did talk about direct and indirect borrowing from different languages in the unit of neologism. So, please go back and check those videos or slides, but for the moment, for this particular session, my focus is going to be on metaphorization and metonymization. So, whatever I have discussed by now about semantic typology, you should be able to understand that there are a lot of overlapping informations related to lexical, morphological and semantic typology. Okay. So, now let us focus on the first two mechanisms that I just said. So, what is it? So, Nellish and Clark 1992, they would say that there are only two ways or two main ways of going about that. And what are the two main ways? I have already written it over here, metonymization and metaphorization. So, what kind of a phenomenon is that as far as semantic change is concerned? What exactly happens? So, what happens here? The speakers or the community or the speech, the speech community speakers or the language speakers, what they do? They use words for the near neighbors of the things that you mean, right? The near neighbors. So, when you let us say, when you say bank, bank could be some other things also. Bank could be a store, bank could be an office, bank could be river bank, right. So, in this case, when you are thinking about metonymy or metonymization, it's going to be some sort of related meanings, okay, using words for the near neighbors of the things that you mean. So, that is metonym. And otherwise, you can also have let us say using words for the lookalikes. So, this lookalikes are going to be or are known as resemblers. So, in case of the resemblers, what is going to be, it's you are primarily focusing on a thing of what you mean. So, what you mean, that is going to be in the metaphor category, and finding out the neighboring words of what you mean is going to be in the metonymization category. So, one is near neighbor, the other one is lookalike. So, near neighbor would be in metonymy category and lookalikes are going to be in the metaphor category. So, I am going to briefly discuss these two issues in a few minutes.